Good evening, everyone. Today we are having another live session, and as you can see, we will be checking another Brassin series Eduard kit for detailing your aircraft model. But first, let me check the YouTube stream so that I can see what you will be writing on YouTube, and then we will continue with the review itself. So, as I said, this is a Brassin series kit. As you can see, it is molded in 1/48 scale. It copies BF109G engine, and it should be handy with recent release from Tamiya in this scale. As you remember, plastic kit had some really modest detailing of the engine out of the box, and now you have a chance to get a chance to improve it with help of this resin set. So as you can see, packaging is quite typical. We have this black box with picture of the, actually this is a 3D image of the finished assembly. Then on the rear side, we have some information about this kit, and that's pretty much all. As usual, it is sealed with tape, so I'm going to cut through it, and we will check closer what is hidden inside. And let's open it. Okay, so everything is wrapped into this assembly manual, as you can see, but we will check it a bit later, because first we have to remove this layer of foam. As in the previous review, I can say that keep this foam, do not throw it away, because it's really handy in our hobby, and you get it basically for free as a free bonus, so I would recommend to keep it. Then here we have parts separated into several plastic bags. One plastic bag, second one, third one, fourth one, and fifth with P thread, and that's pretty much all. Then we have another layer of foam, and then we have assembly manual. Of course, we will check assembly manual a bit later. I would like to start with resin parts. So first of all, let's take a look at these small elements which are placed in the separate plastic bag. Just give me a second to open them. So they're molded out of light gray resin. Why I'm saying this? Because there is also a plastic bag with dark colored resin. This does not have any difference, so do not worry about getting them in the different colors. So here we have all parts for the external detailing of the engine, and some of them are quite interesting. So first of all, I would like to show this air filter. As you can see, it is molded as a single piece part. It will be installed on your aircraft if you would like to copy some specific version. Then we continue with another air intake. As you can see, it is also molded as a one piece part, so basically you won't have any problems with seams in the middle, because this part comes as a single piece element which is ready to be installed on your model. Next, we have this turbocharger. Note that we have this square position element, which will help you with proper alignment. And here you can see it from the other side. I'll bring it closer for Instagram viewers because it's worth showing it in detail, but camera does not want to focus on this. So I guess you should be able to see it like this at least. So next we have these ports. As far as I remember, these are electric lines which are connected to this engine. Then we have another quite finely molded element which looks really good, so I will recommend you to be careful with this part. As you can see, it is really small. Let's not forget that this is a 1/48 scale kit, and these parts show it even better. As you can see, they're smaller than my fingertip, and therefore you have to use some tweezers in order to handle them, because I think otherwise it will be almost impossible to do anything with them. Next, we have quite surprising thing, because as you can see, exhausts are molded separately, so basically each exhaust stack will have to be combined from these separately molded fins. It might look tedious, but it also may be handy for some weathering ideas, because you can get uneven look, which will look even more realistic, I would say. So take your chance with this, paint them carefully, and you will get really nice result. Then we have more of these various external elements which are placed on the engine. We place them aside. Here, these, as far as I can guess, are the front and the rear exhaust stacks. Why? Because they have the special plates in the front and in the rear section. So it will be easier to copy them like this, molded together out of the box. Next, we have this part. This is an oil tank, as you remember. And as you can see, on the other side, we have this special guiding element, which will help you to place it properly on the engine block. But otherwise, molding quality seems to be really nice. I don't have any complaints. And thank you for the like on the YouTube, by the way. Then we have here the rear wall. This one is molded together with various wiring. So be careful while painting this. Definitely you need sharp brush for this, because otherwise it will be really tricky to get something decent looking on this element. Here we have another set of oil tanks, as far as I remember. This will be placed on both sides of the engine. Next we have, I'm not sure what is this, but as far as I remember, this element is placed on the top of the engine. And why I'm a bit surprised, because here we have a bit different parts division from what we saw in the Eduard Brassin series engine, which was designed for the Eduard plastic. And it is a bit surprising, because some of you, and even me, might think that we have just, let's say, adapted kit, which is basically the same as what we saw in the previous release, but turns out it's not as simple. And as you can see, you get some extra bits. So here we have another plastic bag. This one is notable because we get these dark gray resin bits. So let me show them one by one. First of all, we have these special spars, which will be holding engine in place. So you, of course, you have to clean all this resin flash inside, because otherwise these parts will look ugly. Next, we have another set of minor parts. Molding quality is really great here, but you have to be careful, for example, with this wire, because you can see it's really thin, and I think it might be tricky to separate it and even to glue it into the place. So some modders might resort to metal wire in order to be able to handle it in a less careful way, I would say. Here we have more of these minor elements, and this is 1/48 scale. That's the most amazing thing, because in 1/48 scale they're really tiny, as you can see, for example, on these parts, and still you have to cope with this. And the final result should be really nice, but I think this is definitely not a choice for beginners, because again, here, for example, we have 3 really tiny parts which still should be glued on the engine. As far as I remember, I was working, here we have another example. So as I said, I was working with BF109G engine for the 1/32 scale kit. It was the Revel kit when it came out. And even there, these parts were a bit tricky to install into the right spot. So I cannot imagine what we would have here, for example. So here we have another parts. This one will be used for the propeller, by the way. Then we have machine guns here. So basically you get the engine together with machine guns section. And note that these are molded together, so you won't have to fiddle with separate machine guns. Also, wiring is pre-molded. Barrels are resin, not the metal ones. So if you would like to replace them, you will have to search for some aftermarket upgrade. Then we have this special hinge for the bonnet part, or for the cowling parts, whatever you like the most. Here we have the small parts once again. Then we have various wiring. Note that this is already pre-shaped, so it should be easy to fit, but it will be a bit tricky to cut, because as you can see, these parts are really thin, and it might take some time to get them separate from the resin base. Next, we have slightly bigger parts. As you can see, they come in their own plastic bag. Just give me a second. So what do we... Basically, you won't have any seams in this area, and that's really cool in my opinion, because some others just won't be happy to have any seams after cutting off the cowling of the aircraft. So here, manufacturer decided to choose such parts division. Next, we have cowling panels. As you can see, they're detailed both outside and inside, of course. Here you can see what we have inside, and it looks really good in my opinion. And of course some washings and weathering will help you with nice result. And of course here we have the cutouts for machine guns, so you have to carefully cut off the resin flash and then you have really nice result. Here we have the lower panel for the cowling. Again, we have to cut off the resin flash here in the air intake area, because otherwise it will be tricky to get the proper result. But note that even inside it is detailed. We have some pre-molded elements, so it looks really nice. And then here, I guess this is a air intake panel, which will be inserted into the part which we just saw. And again, it looks really good. Okay, that's the third plastic bag. Then we have the fourth one. This one is dedicated solely to this engine block. And as you can see, we have some pre-molded. It was necessary to use your own ignition wires, but here we have everything pre-molded. For example, this element, this, etc., etc. Of course, some might say that it will make assembly easier, but do not forget how many parts we saw molded separately. So this just makes task a bit easier, I would say. Next we have PE thread, and that's pretty much all surprisingly. Why I'm surprised? Because I don't see decals, and we'll check assembly manual if this is right or there should be decals. But as you can see here, we have various parts which will copy wiring on this project or on this kit. And again, these parts are really tiny, so be ready to apply them with tweezers. And now we can move on to assembly manual. Here it is. Assembly manual is printed in typical Brassin style. So here we have the parts map, and obviously decals are not included. So if you would like to copy the production numbers, you will have to do it with your own hands. And assembly process, of course, starts with the main block. So we continue with installation of various minor parts. Here we install the turbocharger, and note that you will have to use metal wire from your own resources in order to copy some of the elements. So be ready for this. Next we have those steps where we detail the armament bay, I would say, with those machine guns. And then we flip it over. Here we continue work on it and then join it together with those engine struts and engine itself. Then the next step is this. So again, you will have to use your own wire, metal wire, if you would like to get a fully detailed hook. Then we apply various parts in the lower section of the engine. Then here we have the small picture for the correct position of those wires. And again, you have to source metal wires for this build. As you can see, 0.3 millimeters. From the other side, we have, again, wiring procedure continued from the top, from the side. And also we installed the exhausts. So as you remember, exhausts were molded separately. And as you can see here, we have the frontal and rear exhausts also as a separate parts, as you remember. Next, we have here we start working with plastic parts. So you have to cut off completely this area which is marked in red, as you can see here. Then we continue with installation of the engine right onto the original plastic parts. And that's really surprising that this resin upgrade actually uses what we have in original plastic halves. Then we continue with those exhaust covers, and note the correct position guide. Thank you for the second like, by the way. Hi, Chancellor. And then we continue with P parts. We also assembled all wiring on the engine panels. And it is a bit surprising that here we have more wiring than in 1/32 scale. So be ready to work with this tricky stuff. And of course, I would recommend to use some high quality metal wires, lead wires. Then here, note that you can replicate open and closed position of the air intake. So it will be up to you which one you choose, but the air intake panel will be replicated with P part. And then we have the final steps Of course, final steps involve the cooling panel. So here we install the air intake, and here, as I said before, you have a choice to install or option to install the air filter. As far as I remember, that was a tropical air filter. And then here, do not forget to use the special strut, because on real aircraft, those cooling panels were opened with those struts. And the same can be said about another engine panel. This panel, the lower panel, was just opened with its own weight. Yes, I would rather call it as a kit on its own, because as you can see, maybe this set carries more parts than original Tamiya offering, but it's really cool. And if you're not work with all those wirings, all those tiny resin parts, this might be a perfect choice, especially if you consider the fact that it works with original plastic parts. You just have to cut off the frontal section and you are ready to install it onto the original plastic fuselage from Tamiya. That's really cool, and I hope that this approach will be used in all future resin kits from Eduard as well. Of course, I will be happy to hear your opinion about such kit here in the comment section below. If you like this video, press the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also help us get the new tripod. Just click the donate button on our website and choose the video session. We are slowly painting the Tempest, so I think there will be some interesting stuff online. And have a good Sunday evening. I will see you tomorrow as usual. And thank you for joining, and bye.